Hello, my name is Daniel Boettcher, and welcome to my podcast, Shine. Today's guest is quite an interesting woman. I have met Kayla Harrison, who is a 6th degree black belt in Judo, who has won an Olympic gold medal at 2 different Olympics, one in London in 2012 and one in Rio in 2016. Has conquered the odds after herself having a difficult childhood, has become an incredibly successful mixed martial arts fighter, but in fact wants to talk to me today about her role as a mother. Let's drop into a conversation where this incredible woman describes the challenge that has made her grow into the person that she has always wanted to be. You know, it's funny, we didn't catch up a whole lot before the podcast today.
I know.
And so I showed up and I arrived at your gate and I was being stared at by an emu.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm not getting out of the car.
Things have changed.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, okay. So Kayla's terrific and she's fun and she's a judoka and
Yes.
she's had a successful judo career that the listener can certainly read about. You have, been an advocate for judo. You've also been an advocate for women in sports. Mm-hmm. You've been an advocate for women and growing up in violent situations. You've been an advocate for your current career, which is as a mixed martial arts fighter. Mm-hmm. And how's that going?
So I made the transition to MMA in 2018. After my second Olympic Games, I retired in 2016. And I was kind of depressed. You spend your whole life training for one thing, and all of a sudden, you don't have an alarm, you don't have a job, you don't have a goal. And so I tried MMA, and I really loved it. And, here we are however many years later. I've won 2 MMA world titles in a promotion called the PFL, and I recently just signed with the UFC. I've had 2 fights under that umbrella, and I've won both of them. And I think that I'm going to fight for a UFC title next, which is exciting. When I do anything, it's really to see how high I can go to be the best. For me, the UFC is kind of like the Olympics of MMA. It's very cerebral, and Judo is as well, but MMA is like that, but just like exponentially. I mean, it's just everything: kicks, punches, knees,
right.
elbows, versus throws, armbar. Like, Judo has 4 things you have to look out for. And there's a million different ways you can do those 4 things. But MMA has 50 things, and there's a million different ways you can do those 50 things, So it's just, right. It's intense, and I love it, and I love the process. The older I've gotten, the more I have really just fallen in love with the journey and not necessarily the destination. And being a fighter in the cage helps me be a fighter in life, and just brings out the best in me. I always thought, okay, I'll be happy when I have an Olympic gold medal. I'll be happy when I have another. I'll be happy when I have $1 million. I'll be happy when I'm married. I'll be happy when I have kids. And it wasn't until I became a mom that I just realized there's so much more to life than like when, or if, or the next thing. Like, my kids have just given me a whole new purpose, and I guess them loving me, no matter if I win or lose, was probably the most important lesson I needed to learn in my life. It had never occurred to me before Kyla and Emory. It had never occurred to me that I was still lovable or worthy of love if I wasn't successful. My mother had custody of Kyla and Emory, and this is in 2019, and she suffered a stroke. About 6 months later, her husband, Bob, passed away very suddenly. And so I flew home to Ohio and took care of the funeral arrangements. And, my mom was still recovering from a stroke and grieving. And I said, hey, Mom, why don't I take the kids home with me? So, yeah, we packed up a car and we drove from Ohio down to Florida. And, yeah, my life changed very suddenly. I haven't gone a day without talking to them since. So Kyla and Emory were originally my niece and nephew. My sister has struggled with addiction for most of her adult life and has been in and out of the system. And about a year after I took custody, I adopted them both, and it became official. And, I think that was the most selfless thing my sister has ever done, is to realize, like, I was a kid having kids, and I need to take care of myself.
And I'm sure tears were shed on all sides.
Oh, yeah. Tears, plenty of tears. I mean, mostly, obviously, for the trauma that they've had, but also, I mean, when I became a mom, I didn't know. It was literally overnight, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Of course. And how old were they then?
Emory was 1, and Kyla was 5.
Oh, I didn't realize that she was 1 year old. So you're changing diapers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As well as doing your MMA training.
Yeah, still trying to train, still trying to have a dream. And man, those first years, I look back and cringe a little bit because like I was just a mess. I was a mess. I was so scared. I was so overwhelmed, and like I didn't know. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, but I didn't know that it was okay to ask for help. Like that it takes a village, that nobody does it alone. And in my head, I was like, I have to be the perfect mom. I have to have the perfect kids. I have to have the perfect life. And so here I am, like,
and it's not going perfectly.
And it's not going perfectly. And every single night I would cry myself to sleep, like just out of frustration, out of like fear. Yeah.
Desperation, all those difficult emotions.
Yeah. No, I was terrified. I look back on those first years and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Training to be a judo Olympian's hard, but being a parent,
oh my gosh.
That's the toughest neighborhood in the world is Parenthood.
No, Parenthood is a rough hood.
Yeah.
It is like, and I tell people all the time that I'm like, I've done a lot of stuff in my life, but being a parent, being a good parent is by far the hardest thing, and the most rewarding, but the hardest thing I've ever done. Kyla and I were always really close, Emory was younger. I hadn't been home as much. And I think it was obviously, for me, like I loved them. I loved them unconditionally, before I became their mother. But it was a hard transition for Kyla and I, really. Like, I was Aunt Kayla, I was like the one who like picked her up, and she came to stay with me for 3 weeks in the summer, and we went to Disney, and I let her stay up late and eat
unlimited candy.
Yeah, like I was like the fun aunt.
Right.
And then, I'm telling her she can't leave the dinner table until she finishes her whatever.
Doing mom stuff.
Yeah, doing mom stuff. And it's especially hard, I think, as a single parent, to be the nurturer and the disciplinarian is a very difficult hat. Like it's hard to wear both hats. I used to consider surrender like a bad word, like surrender was synonymous with failure. It wasn't until, again, I had kids that I realized that surrender is like, it's asking for help. It's God, not my will, God's will, not my way, God's way, not my plan, God's plan. And for sure, if I had drawn my life and wrote it out, it would never in a million years have looked like this. I would never have pictured this for my life. From the time I was 16 until now, couldn't have imagined it. But what's crazy is I couldn't have imagined it to be so wonderful. Like my life is so, it's so fulfilling, and it's so full. When I say that I feel like the kids saved me as much as I hopefully am saving them, I mean it. Like, due to trauma, mostly, but also just like poor decision making, I used to give my love to like really bad men, or like, I would find ways to cope that weren't healthy, like alcohol or drugs, or numbing out by being on my phone and scrolling, like just like terrible things that are not good for you, and my kids saved me. I think it was the fact that it wasn't me, it was these two innocent precious lives, and they were in my hands. And like, I just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this of my own will. Like, I can't be everything they need me to be. Like, I'm just like powering through it because that's what I've done my entire life. And it's not working. Like, it's not working. And yeah, so, you know, hitting my knees and praying about it and asking God for help. And, you know, he really gave me a peace that I can't explain it. Like, I should not have peace. Like, I have a very demanding career. I have 2 children. I decided to homeschool them. So, like, I'm a teacher. I train 3 times a day. I have a business, and I have all of these things. I'm also a daughter. I'm also a friend. I'm, a sister, like trying to be all of these different things. And my life should not be peaceful. Like, it is hard, but it is. And it's like, it's the most like beautiful chaos that I've ever had. Being a present parent and being the best mom I can be has made me a better fighter, has made me a better friend, has made me a better daughter. Like, because of them, I have grown so much. Like, when I'm home, I'm home. When I'm with them, I'm with them. Like, I'm not on my phone. I'm not like distracted. And when I'm at the gym, I'm at the gym. I've been able to focus in more. And like, my life has become fuller as a result. I've learned how to say no, like I've learned how to say, I can't do that. No, sorry. Like, I'm giving now with purpose,
Yeah.
Which has been, I think, healthy.
So what does homeschooling look like?
I love it. It's so hard. It is so hard it's so hard. But we wake up every morning, we make breakfast, we do our chores together, we do our morning devotional. We made the schoolroom over here so that we could kind of like, all right, it's time for school. Like, let's go over. Kyla is really good at she's like very independent as a learner. So like, I write down what she's supposed to do, and Emory and I will work. Sometimes we'll work out here. Sometimes we'll work in there with her. If she wants to go read on the trampoline, or if he wants to go, like, school is everywhere. School becomes life.
Right.
And like, it's been awesome. First of all, there is no rush, and that was something that I did not learn. I learned how to be a perfectionist. I learned how to be a high achiever. I learned how to be successful, but I didn't learn how to be here now. There is no rush. I mean, that's one thing I love about homeschooling too, is like, we can just talk about what we want to talk about.
There's no one-size-fits-all curriculum.
There's no one-size-fits-all curriculum, and we do it our way. And some days we get a ton of work done, and some days we, have to stop and pray 17 times because mom's gonna lose it.
Well, yeah. Prayers for patience are good ones.
Oh yeah.
Especially
Every morning we do our devotional, and then we all 3 pray. So like, Kyla will usually start, and she'll say what she's grateful for, and then she'll pray for one of her friends, or she'll pray for the cat, or whatever. And then Emory will go, and he'll always pray and say he's thankful for his cats. And he has started saying, God, please help me not be frustrated. And then, he'll say something silly, like, and whatever. He'll say something silly. But every morning, we all pray for mom's patience.
Everyone.
Every morning.
Because that is the linchpin of the day.
Because that is important.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, I see you laughing and smiling in a way that I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And that makes me so happy for you. I just love that.
Yeah. No, I'm really, like, my life is so full, and I'm really, I'm not always happy, like, I think that this is like a myth. This is like a mythical creature, like a unicorn or something, but I do have a lot of peace.
Well, it sounds like you're excelling as a mother, just as you excelled as an athlete, and you continue to excel as an MMA fighter. What do your kids think about your non-9-to-5 job? Do they have much of an opinion on it?
They don't care.
Yeah, not
like,
so interested.
Kyla likes to come to the fights. Emory couldn't care less. Mm-hmm. The kids came with me to my first loss, and we came home and Kyla sees a therapist, and, you know, I went to Miss Laura after Kyla's session after we came home, and I was like, is she okay? Like, she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, is she concerned? Like, did I traumatize her? You know, like, and she was like, about your loss? And I was like, yeah. And she said, Kayla. She was like, I asked her about the trip, and she's like, yeah, we got to go to New York City on Thanksgiving. We ate pizza. We went to Central Park. My mom had a fight. She lost. Then we came home, and like, Laura looked at me and she was like, Kayla, she does not care if you win or lose. She cares that you're mom and you come home. And like, dude, I cried for like 3 days. Like, it finally hit me.
Right.
They don't give a shit. They could care less. Like, as long as I'm mom, as long as I come home, you know, they don't care. As long as I come home.
Yeah, but that's love.
Yeah. I didn't love myself. I did all these things and I was so successful, and like on the outside, I'm this like shiny gold object. But on the inside, I didn't really love myself. It was very fear-based, my success. You know, it was like, don't let anyone see, don't let anyone see, don't let anyone see, be perfect, be this, be that. And I think I love myself now because I can see myself through my kids' eyes.
Well, I'll ask you the question that I've asked all of the other guests I've had, which is, how has the situation you're in now, or helping solve the problems of raising these kids, how has that changed your life today?
I don't know if I could ever describe how much it's changed my life. Night and day.
Night and day.
It mostly, I think, if I had to pick one thing, my life went from being all about me. You know, I would wake up, I would train, I would come home, I would eat, I would like read a book or lay out or train again. Like, it was all about me to not about me at all. Mm-hmm. All about them. And yeah, it's actually made everything better.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see you moving outside yourself.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Thank you very much for sharing this with me. And
no, thank you.
You know, I was on my way here and I thought, you know, I haven't seen Kayla as a mom, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your story, and it's even more generous than I expected. And I love it. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Kayla, thank you for joining me today, and I really love to hear you shine.
Aw, thank you.
What a fun, larger than life, and still deeply personal story about motherhood. As Kayla Harrison really, really gets to the heart of what it means to be Kayla, what it means to be a mom, a sister, an aunt, a Christian woman, and finally, what she hopes will be her status as a wife. I just loved hearing Kayla, so full of joy and laughter, speaking so frankly about such a personal journey that she's on. Now, before we wrap up here, and this is our last episode in this series of podcasts, I'd like to share with you something special that I've done, which is make a design brief over the conversation I've had with Kayla. You see, in my office, the fine jewelry I make doesn't start by taking a look at the raw materials available. It doesn't start by tinkering around at the goldsmith's bench. In fact, all of the jewelry that I make starts in conversation with another person, and from that conversation, I distill a design brief like the one that I have written for Kayla that I'd like to share with you. Now, the design brief that I've written for Kayla is called A Living Legacy: The Profound Symbolism of Kayla's Canopy. You can read or listen to me read the full design brief, along with seeing the renderings, the drawings, and the finished piece of jewelry on my website at theintrepidwendell.com/shine. I'm really grateful for all of you who've been on this journey with me as I have traveled to 10 cities on 2 continents, interviewed 10 amazing people, have traveled 50,000 miles, have boarded 43 airplane flights, and have designed and created 10 remarkable pieces of jewelry over each one of the conversations I've had. I look forward to seeing you in my next season, which should begin in a few months. Last but not least, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with someone who might like to hear Kayla's story. You can also go back and listen to the other 9 episodes, which are just as good as this one. You can go visit our website for more behind-the-scenes content. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing a part of your time with me. My name is Daniel Boettcher, and I love to hear you shine.